1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, yummy.
Are you ready?
Cauliflower tartine. Today we're going to be making cauliflower tartine, and to do this what we're going to need is a quarter head of cauliflower. And the first thing I want you to do is just take and break off the cauliflower bits, and I want you to crush with your fingers just the florets, the top part, to make them into bite-sized pieces, kind of like popcorn. Just break them up. You can take the stem aside and we'll cut that up in a minute. You want them all to be bite-sized pieces, so I'm just going to go ahead and break this all up. So now you can see I broke up all the florets, but I still have the stems. We don't need to waste it. Just get out a knife and then you're going to just chop them up again into bite-sized pieces. Alright, now all of the cauliflower is prepared, so we're going to start to season the cauliflower before we bake them. So the first thing you're going to get is some olive oil. You're going to take approximately 1 tablespoon of olive oil. 1 tablespoon. And you just want to make sure that all the cauliflower is coated in that oil, and that's going to help so that all the seasoning sticks to the cauliflower easily. Okay, next thing we're going to add in is our cumin. We want about 1/2 teaspoon of cumin. And then I'm gonna put in about a pinch of nutmeg. Whatever you can fit between your thumb and your pointer finger. I'm gonna add in some, you can either use dried thyme, but I had some fresh thyme at home, so I'm just gonna take some fresh thyme and put that inside. I'm gonna take about a few sprigs because there's not a lot of leaves on each one. I just want to get the thyme off of the stem, the leaves, and add them into the mix as well. So usually what I do is I'll just hold the stem and then pull backwards to remove all the leaves when I'm using fresh herbs. So again, just pull it forward. That looks about good. And then what I'm going to add in here is about 1 teaspoon of turmeric. Be careful with turmeric, it stains very easily, so you don't want to get it on your clothes or anything. And even when you're washing things, rinse all off your equipment first with some water before you start washing it, because it will stain all of your cloths and everything. Alright, so I've got all my ingredients inside the bowl. So all I have to do now is just toss them together before preparing them to bake. I just heard my oven beep, so I preheated my oven to 220 degrees Celsius to cook this up. All right, next what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna get some aluminum foil. I'm gonna put it all on top of the aluminum foil here. And then I'm just going to wrap the sides up. To make a container so I can pop this into the oven and allow it to bake up. And it's gonna bake for about 10 to 12 minutes. Keep an eye on it, make sure it doesn't burn, but what you want it to do is just soften up and intensify all the flavor as it cooks. So there we go, I'm just gonna pop that into the oven. So my oven here is ready. I'm just gonna open it up. Make sure you're really careful. And you're just gonna go ahead and set that onto the tray and allow it to bake for, like I said, 10 to 15 minutes. So while that cauliflower is in the oven baking, I'm gonna prepare a hummus. And to make hummus, the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take a pot of water. I'm gonna fill it about halfway full. I'm gonna put in a half teaspoon of baking soda into the water. And then I'm gonna dump in a can of chickpeas. Now for your chickpeas, make sure you drain them off first. So here we go. About a half teaspoon. Maybe a little bit more than that. Half teaspoon of baking powder. And then I've just got these chickpeas. I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna drain them off, and then I'm gonna throw them in. So just give me a second. Now they're drained, I'm just gonna go ahead and pop them into the water. And then I'm gonna cook them on a medium heat for about 20 minutes. While the chickpeas are cooking up, I'm gonna just prepare all the stuff to make my hummus. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna juice some lemon. So I'm just gonna go ahead, cut my lemon in half. Before you cut it in half, it's always best that you roll it really hard on the table. That will soften it up so it's easier to juice. Then just go ahead, cut it in half. And then if you don't have a juicer, you can just squeeze it over top of a measuring jug, but I have a lemon juicer, so I'm just gonna use it to juice my lemons. And we need about a 1/4 cup of lemon juice. So you're gonna need at least 1 full lemon, if not more, depending on the size of your lemon. I just got a measuring cup and I'm gonna pour in a 1/4 of a cup. Not quite enough, so I'm gonna grab 1 more lemon and then cut it in half. I think I only need about half more. That's perfect, exactly 1/4 cup. So the next thing I need is some tahini. So you can buy tahini. It's like kind of like a peanut butter paste, but it's made from sesame seed. You're gonna want to get a spoon and you're gonna measure out a 1/2 cup of the tahini. So just spoon it out here. Just gonna put it into my same measuring jug with my lemon juice. Now this one I think has been sitting at the grocery store for some time, so it's a bit hard. Sometimes it's much softer and easier to work with, but just scoop it out, and then like I said, you want to have a 1/2 cup, so plus your 1/4 cup of lemon juice, so it should be 3/4 once we're done. And there we have it. Now I'm just gonna prepare my garlic. So for your garlic, you want about 2 or 3 pieces. Go ahead and crush it with your hand or the side of your blade. Once it's crushed, it should be much easier for you to remove the skin off of the garlic. And depending on the size of them, you want a couple good sized pieces. You can put up to 4 or 5 pieces of garlic in here. It really depends on how much you like the flavor of garlic. So I'm going to put that inside. You can go ahead, you can just roughly chop this if you like, but it is going into a food processor, so it will chop it finer inside of there. This just helps to break it up initially a little bit faster. So there we go. I'm going to take my garlic, pop that inside, and then I'm going to go ahead, I can add in all my tahini and lemon juice as well. And then I'm gonna recommend that you add in 3 tablespoons of water. And then you can also add in a tablespoon of olive oil. And then we're just waiting for our chickpeas to finish boiling so they're nice, tender, and soft so we can make a nice smooth hummus. Now if you just use canned chickpeas, they'll work as well, but by cooking them, they really soften up and you'll get a much smoother consistency and texture with your hummus. This is all the things that I'm gonna put in it, but you could also, I'm also actually gonna add cumin, but you could also add in a few other ingredients depending on how spicy you like things. I know some people like things with paprika in it or cayenne pepper, so it depends on you, but I would put, you have to put at least 1/2 teaspoon of cumin in here, so I'm just gonna add that in there as well. And then, like I said, it's optional for you to put something spicy. You could even put a little bit of chili oil in there. I know people like that with their hummus. It depends on you. We're also gonna add in 1/2 teaspoon of sea salt. The chickpeas have finished cooking. I just drained them and now I'm gonna go ahead and put them into the food processor. It's pretty straightforward from here. Just gonna go ahead, I'm gonna place the lid on top of the food processor and then allow it to blend up. You may wanna stop it from time to time and then just go ahead and clean up the edges of the machine just to make sure that it's all getting blended in properly. And if you find that it's not smooth enough, you can add another tablespoon of water. So it's looking pretty good. Like I said, I think we could be a little bit smoother. I might add a little bit more water. And if you want to, you can add a little bit more lemon juice as well, if you taste it and think it's not tangy enough. So I'm just gonna give it a quick little taste here. Oh, I think that's good, but I might add a little bit more olive oil as well. Just a little bit. And blend that up a little bit further. And there we have it, a nice hummus. Again, you should always taste test your food to make sure it matches your taste bud or what you want it to taste like before you serve it to anybody else. I'm really happy with this. Again, you could add different spices, more garlic, additional lemon juice, more olive oil, more water to make it smoother. It's really up to you, but this is a good base recipe for you to start off with. Everything is ready. I just took 2 pieces of bread and I put them in the toaster. They just came out of the toaster. And so now I'm gonna plate everything up. I'm gonna grab my knife and I'm gonna just go ahead and I'm gonna spread the hummus. And the hummus makes quite a bit, but you can use it for today's lesson as well as tomorrow's lessons with the falafels to put them together if you like. I know a lot of people like to use hummus for eating with carrots or different things with their family, so hopefully you guys will enjoy that. So I'm just gonna go ahead, there I got my hummus on there. The same thing on my other one. So a tartine is an open face sandwich, so it's not closed. So it's just gonna be open like this. So there I have my hummus on it, and then I'm gonna go and grab my cauliflower that has been baked in the oven. I'm just gonna place that on top of the bread. And this should make enough to make about 4 sandwiches, so for a family size portion, so you can downsize or upsize it depending on how many people you have. There we have it. The last thing you're gonna do is you're just gonna take some fresh thyme if you have it. If you don't have it, you don't have to do it. But I like to take a few sprigs of fresh thyme and just place them on top for them to look aesthetically nice. And it's all edible, it tastes good with it as well. It's something we already put inside of the dish. And there you have your cauliflower tartine.